Hey everyone, this is video number 3 of our Q&A, Twitter Q&A series. Obviously, I can't answer all the questions that you guys put out because I'd be here all the time. It'd be my full-time job. But thanks for all the questions. This is the last video in this particular series, and I'll just jump right in. So a couple questions about environmental concerns around Bitcoin mining. Pablo at Lufcy Paul writes, with environmentalists expressing concern about BTC mining's energy consumption, is it possible we could look into using the heat generated to heat on-site greenhouses to produce crops of vegetables / fruit? Okay, not a big moneymaker, but enhances our green credentials. It's a good idea, and we're open to all ideas, and hopefully we'll have be able to kind of announce some projects in this line soon. So Pablo, not far-fetched at all, interesting, on the radar, and for sure, we're definitely interested in using heat that's generated, particularly in colder climates, for other things, because obviously, the machines create a lot of heat, so it's something that we can use and capture, particularly in places like Quebec. Toucan456 at Toucan456 writes, there's growing negative press around the ESG credentials of crypto mining with respect to energy consumption. My understanding is that Argo uses hydroelectric. Can this be combined with battery or hydrogen cell technology on other sites? Institutional investors will reward. Yeah, look, I think it's one of the things that differentiates us is that this is on our radar. We are definitely conscious of ESG concerns from both institutional investors and retail investors. We like the fact that the facilities that we have in Quebec use hydropower, and that's obviously 100% renewable, which is great. The area that we just signed the LOI on in West Texas is powered primarily by wind and solar, and there's lots of renewable innovation that's happening in that part of the world. So it's something that is again on our radar, something we're focused on, and we believe it can be a differentiator moving forward. So yeah, good question, Toucan456. Morphous at Morphous Gas Dock. Are any of Argo's current or future facilities aptly placed to benefit from the addition of a green energy source? Solar, wind, hydro, keep up the fantastic work. Thank you for the question. And yeah, similar to the last one, I think in West Texas, well, I know in West Texas, renewables is going to be a big part of what we do down there. Quebec, that's a part of it. Chorus Facilities has a large, portion of their power sources from renewables. So yeah, it's again on the radar and something that we're focused on. Mining. Callum Naughton at Callum Naughton 3. Can we expect larger mining orders going forwards with a view to better pricing? Since you're a blockchain tech co, might you consider commissioning manufacture of miners and possibly even selling to other companies given rising demand and possibly lower costs and potential profit? Listen, I've said from the start, this mining thing is about two things. It's about getting access to cheap power, renewable if possible, on the one hand, and on the second hand, getting access to machines and knowing how to operate those machines in an effective way, and buying those machines at the right time at the right price. So obviously, this is something, Callum, that we're focused on, and yes, we want to get as close to manufacturers as we can. Hopefully, we can share some news around that soon, in terms of pricing, it's many of the pricing systems that manufacturers have is tied to the cost of Bitcoin. They kind of know what your ROI is. So the pricing is a tricky piece, and that's why sometimes it's better to buy in a down cycle than in the middle of a bull run. You want to buy at the start of technology cycles. These are all things that we know and we've learned over the last few years in terms of our timing of trying to buy machines. So yeah, it's a good question, and again, hopefully we'll have some news soon that we can share around some of the things we're working on in that area. Risks. Kevin McMillan asks about risks at Kevin McMillan. Hi, guys. Thanks for the interaction. Great to see. What do you see as the greatest risk to Argo's success in the coming year? We're all really bullish, but don't want to be blindsided. So another good question, Kevin. So I think some of the things that you would think of as risks to Argo would be, supply chain. So coming off kind of the last question, how can we make sure that we continue to get access to machines? I think, given that COVID-19 has had an impact on lots of the global economy, we haven't seen a huge impact on supply chain machines. There's lots of machines being manufactured. I think the one challenge is around chips. There's only so many chips to go around. And there's kind of a global shortage right now of chips, given all of the different, uses that these chips are having. You've seen recently some car manufacturers have had to stop manufacturing because they haven't had the right chips to put in the cars. So I think that's a risk in terms of ability to scale, is access to chips. And again, we're working, through our existing suppliers, through other potential suppliers, to kind of try to mitigate any of the risks there. In terms of our facilities, I don't see any big risks. Our facilities are in really stable locations and are really well built. In terms of our team, I don't see any huge risks. We're very solid, dedicated team that have now been with the company. Well, the core team has been with the company for a long time. Obviously, if the price of Bitcoin was to undergo a sudden downturn, that would have an impact on our margin. Again, because we're so efficient, I think we would be okay. I think we could survive we'd be fine with a short downturn. But if Bitcoin goes to 5,000, we'd struggle. That shouldn't surprise anyone. But if Bitcoin, was under 30 or even under 20 for a period of time, we would be fine. But good question, Kevin, and something that as the CEO of the company, is something that I think about a lot. Jono at Zaberdust Corp. Hi, Peter. Incredible results so far. So very excited to see what the future holds for Argo. My question surrounds your view on BTC itself. Do you believe BTC will ever enter the life of the average Joe and become a household name? I think Bitcoin in many ways has already, Joe, become a household name. It's something that most people are familiar with. If you saw people in the street and you say, do you know what Bitcoin is? I think most people, 9 out of 10 people are going to know. I think still, 1 out of 10 people are probably going to be, or even less, are going to be holding Bitcoin. So I think Bitcoin will continue to become more popular and will become more and more mainstream. I think, the same way in which gold has become an asset that people buy and hold, I think Bitcoin is digital gold, and will be an asset class that people want to buy and hold because they see it as something that appreciates in value over time. In terms of the practicalities of using Bitcoin as a medium of exchange, I think we're probably going to see other cryptocurrencies come to the fore that are a little more lightweight, that have more similarities to fiat currencies. Some of the stable coins that are out there now are very practical. We use them, to pay suppliers. Sometimes we use them to pay service providers, and they're very useful. They're much easier to move than fiat currency is when you look at kind of global banking systems and those type of things. So I think Bitcoin is going to be the big daddy and is going to be the thing that people want to hold because, again, it will be the most valuable because it's the first mover and it's got the scarcity baked into it. But I think there's lots of room in the grand scheme of cryptocurrencies and in the general blockchain ecosystem for other projects that are going to be successful. And they're already being successful and already gaining following and users. Followers and users. But thanks, Jono. Thanks for the question. Future strategy. Elray at Ian Elray asks, what is the 2021 target for Argo? So I think I've spoken about this before. Obviously, the short-term target for the next quarters is to get up to 1.7 exahash of Bitcoin mining, which, you know, we've people who have been following us know that that's, you know, what we have on order and what's coming. We also have a longer term goal to build out the 100 megawatts in West Texas, a phase one of 100 megawatts in the next 12 months, and then another 100 megawatts after that in the following 6 to 12 months. We also are going to be diversifying and have already started diversifying into other blockchain technology and innovation projects. So Pluto Digital Assets investment was one of those. There will be, other projects that we're going to be looking at and potentially investing in. We will expand our mining footprint in Q3 and Q4. So you can expect, that's our goal for Q3 and Q4 is to continue to grow and have more capacity. And then in Q1 2022, when our new facility is up in West Texas, we'll have a bigger jump of capacity. So I think you can expect a bigger jump from then. And all of this is kind of with an eye to return value to shareholders and make sure that, we're transparent and communicate what we're doing, which is obviously one of the company's core values. This is kind of a follow-on question to that. Caroline at Softly says, where do you see Argo in 5 years' time? So, Caroline, I'd see Argo in 5 years' time being, an open, transparent, publicly traded blockchain company, similar to what we are, but bigger and stronger, that has used a smart growth strategy to get where we are, to be one of the top players worldwide in blockchain, both proof of stake and proof of work. So obviously now the vast majority of what we do is proof of work with mining, but we're also starting to explore proof of stake projects like our Pluto investment recently. So DeFi, validating nodes, all of those kind of sides of the proof of stake. Anything that provides returns yield from blockchain projects we're interested in pursuing. So I would say that is where we'll be as well in 5 years, a global leader in that, and then a leader as well on the ESG side and using renewables to mine and to verify transactions on the blockchain. That's a big part of what we want to do is to be renewable, and then as well to continue to build a really strong relationship with our shareholders and stakeholders and be a trusted name and brand in the space. So that's where I see us in 5 years. Okay, last question. Yoda at Yoda, a Jedi Master, asks, you guys should make some Argo piggy banks like you used to be able to get from the bank years ago. Be totally pointless in years to come, but that's besides the point. Very much for satire and a future collector's item. I'm not sure there'd be a huge, well, it's a good idea. Maybe we should. If you have a design, send it along. We'll look at it. I don't think our current merch store is doing piggy banks, but we can ask them. Hopefully, speaking of merchandise, hopefully some of you have bought or had a look at our merchandise. It's some of it has been designed by our shareholders and our Twitter followers. Some of it's just straight Argo logos and fairly straightforward. I have some that's on, otherwise I'd be wearing it right now, but I have some that's still on the way. And I'm looking forward to getting it because I think it's pretty awesome. So thanks everyone. This is the last video in our series. This time, this is a different location. I'm not in the city tonight. I'm in the country, and hopefully you guys have. I'm sorry I didn't answer all of the questions. There were so many of them, but we tried to categorize them and curate them into certain sections, and hopefully give you some more information about Argo. And that's it for now. Onwards and upwards.